I'm sorry, Oz. We'll start over, all right? I'll be at this time.
Have fun getting out!
Hey! Oz, open the door.
Welcome back to another Penguin Breakdown. Today we're going to be breaking down episode 7, and I have an announcement at the end of the video, so make sure you stay tuned for that. And a lot of stuff happened this episode, giving us some big revelations for Oz as a character, and how he was pretty much rotten to the core since he was a child. So let's go into that breakdown, because it starts off with the episode giving us a flashback to Oz, his mother, his brother Jack, and his brother Benny. And right off the bat, Oz is a special kind of kid. He's a mama's boy, but not any kind of mama's boy. He is a weird fantasization with his mother. At least that's how I saw it, where you have him loving over his mother, always wanting her attention. He feeds for her, and he wants to be so close to her. And honestly, it was a little uncomfortable at times. However, it showed you where his evilness came from, as he was clearly jealous of his older brother Jack. You know, he wanted to take his mom out for a date, have a nice little movie night, but then his brother Jack kept getting the attention because his Jack was the one that went and did the criminal stuff for his mother, going to take some paperwork to Rex, the guy who's taking care of the neighborhood and kind of that mob boss of their area. I also saw people talking about that it was his mom giving her bills to Rex in order to help support the family, as he did take care of the neighborhood, which that could be the case as well, but I still think something more criminally was taken on at this point. Now, Rex is also a character from the comics, of course. His name is Rex Calabrese. Calabrese? Honestly, no idea if I pronounced that right, but he's also known as the Lion. He was just another mob boss in the Gotham City underworld. However, he was around before Batman came into the picture. He was also one of the mob bosses that ruled the city before Carmine Falcone came in, which is cool to get him tied back in this little backstory, seeing him run the city, doing what he wants, giving the kids a little extra money because they're helping out his mom. So, you know, he takes care of people, which is the person Oz wants to be. He wants to take care of the neighborhood, take care of the people that work for him. So he looks like this big man to everyone around them. And we could also see throughout the series that he looks up to Rex, just like how he liked his car. He got himself a fancy car. It was all in this kind of motive to look up to this man who had no idea who Oz really was. And you can notice in the point where Oz talks to him and he just completely ignores the kid. So even though he was looking up to this guy as his idol, he just never existed. And you can see Jack had kind of the good heart. He knew people like this weren't good and he wanted to stay away from them. But Oz was intrigued. And it seemed like a regular day with these kids. You know, they're going out, having fun, being kids, being brothers, until they go into the abandoned tunnel with all the trains, with all the tracks, and it just all goes downhill from there. It's also where Oz finds that little token we saw a couple episodes ago showing where the tunnel system was. His brothers run away from him, making him the it person for flashlight tag because he's the one with a disability. He can't run as fast, so his brothers are clearly picking on him. You got Benny, the young one, and Jack, the older one, still kind of being regular siblings, the ones picking on their brother. And it feels like they were picking on him, but Oz did not like to get picked on whatsoever. So Oz just kept taking offense to everything, even though it definitely wasn't fair for the kids to run off on the one that couldn't run and do all this stuff without him. Oz was that little evil shit. He was definitely evil from a heart. You could see it on his face. There was just something wrong with him that I'm like, this kid, he's evil. There's no doubt about it, especially when his brothers climbed down the little storm drain there and he gets all mad because he couldn't get down there because of his leg. Understandable. But then closing the door on them that only opens from the outside was downright atrocious. The dude left his brothers to die in a goddamn overflow tunnel while it's pissing rain in Gotham City. He left his brothers to drown. And this is where I saw it. I'm like, Oz is terrible. I'm like, you know what? You feel bad for him at times. Now, I don't feel bad for him at all. Yes, he was a kid. He made a mistake, but that kid knew exactly what he was doing by locking his brothers in there. He leaves them, goes home to his mom, lies that they went to the movies, and then has that movie date with his mom like he wanted, with a little smirky grin on his face. So he knew exactly what he was doing, and in this moment they also referenced Beetlejuice, which I thought was cool. This right here shows that Oz is a little conniving little shit. I might have said shit a little too much in this video, but goddamn, I don't know what it was about this part, but it made me really not like the character. It just shows you what he wants to do to be the one that gets all the attention, and that's exactly what he wants. He got the attention from his mom, and now he's rising to the top in Gotham to get the attention of everyone else. Also, the movie Oz wanted to watch, everyone reminded me of Penguins. Also reminded me of the classic look of the Penguin. However, you know what? This kid did a good job acting this part because he really did make me hate him. I did not like his character whatsoever during this part, and it was all meant to be. And there was just something there that was rubbing me the wrong way the entire time. I think they did a good job with the backstory, getting rid of some of that sympathy we had for his character. but it was also setting up his mom potentially dying and then having that sympathy come right back. Because you could see the kind of broken person he is, and it's understandable to see how crooked he's become over the years. Left his brothers to die, it was his fault. It was his fault the entire goddamn time. Don't trust the Penguin, guys. Don't trust him. As we go forward, though, I will say this episode did a great job setting up the stakes for the final by just ramping everything up so quickly. Having Oz go to the apartment, find out his mom's been taken, sees Vic on the ground, helps him get away, because you know Oz does care about Vic. He does in some way. He probably is pissed off that he let his mom get taken, but he also sees that guilt going on Vic's face, and he's like, no, not right now. Go get me an army. You need to go get me an army, because he needs the backup to take down Sophia. So I like how they set that up. And then you have Oz getting smashed over the head by Sal with his own golf club and just getting beaten up by him. Just showing how pissed Sal is after what Oz did to his family. He wants payback, and now he can finally get it. Now, they did some pretty interesting stuff with Sal's character as we go forward, but we'll talk about that when we get to that moment in the episode. But when I watched this, I was like, well, everything is backfiring on Oz at this moment because he double-crossed Sal, he double-crossed Sophia, and everything's just coming up to him thinking he could do everything without them noticing, just for it all to fall into place of him getting beaten up. But somehow he was able to make it out of this episode alive, for the most part. And then I like when we flash back with Francis, with Sophia, and we kind of get an interesting moment with how Francis isn't even surprised about Oz saying she was dead. He was actually proud of him, because he noticed that Sophia was an easy mark to get that sympathy. So it just shows you that Francis, we saw her, she did shady stuff in the past, so she knows how this operation works. She knows how the crime system is, and she knows exactly how they're playing it. So she's proud of her son because he's getting her everything she wanted, which we tie back into later in the episode where we finally get that flashback. I also found it funny that Francis was just roasting Sophia about the mansion, how it's all plain, there's no color, and she's just like, well, it's all my father's fault. You know, they're old-fashioned. So you can kind of see the two differences. Sophia's kind of trying to move away from her family, where Francis is like, wow, this is a mansion I've always wanted, and it's kind of crap. So you can't see that difference in ideologies. Even if you're rich, doesn't mean everything's going to look nice. It might look bad into the eyes of other people. But I thought it was interesting while they were having this conversation that when Sophia brings up Jack and Benny, Francis completely swaps into her past memory where they went missing. She's worried about them, trying to figure out where they are, and then snaps back into reality literally by snapping Sophia, telling her to get out of her face. So it kind of shows you right there that Francis is slowly declining further and further into dementia. It's getting worse and worse by the day. But she's somehow still there and still can kind of snap in and out of it, being able to put on that proper proud mom face and take charge. So her character's written really interesting. I totally thought by the end of this episode she was going to get axed. I didn't think she was going to make it to the final. But they definitely are setting up for the final of her being killed in front of Oz. There is no way she's getting out of this alive. And I do definitely feel like it's going to be with the season ending that somehow someone's going to find out that Oz is the one that took out his own brothers. His mom's going to find out, know that, be disappointed with him, and then her last words are going to be something horrible to her son, and then she's going to die. Everything will be taken away from Oz in a final moment, and I'm very curious to see what they do. And as we go forward, we have Oz bringing Sal to his operation, Sal taking over it, finding out the tunnels go all over the city, and they could get anywhere they want, until Oz starts rubbing it in his face how he killed his wife and son, how they burnt, how they smell, and then he makes his move to escape. Like, the disturbing facts this guy can speak about this to piss people off, making Sal do what he shouldn't and lose his cool. Really showing that Oz is good with his words. He's definitely evil, he does some horrible stuff, but he does have a way with words to rile up people, get people to work with them, but also piss people off to make them not think clearly. Now, I did not see it coming where Oz was going to be able to not take out Sal. When Sal fell to the ground, I'm assuming here he had a heart attack of some of the sorts. He was grabbing his arm on the side, but there was no gunshots, there was no wounds. He was just collapsed to the ground. So my best part is that it was a heart attack. Because if it wasn't, I don't think Oz would have made it out of there. He was getting his ass beat by Sal until Sal just fell to the ground. And you can really see Oz's ego be a little bruised here, where Oz keeps telling him that, I beat you, Salvatore Maroni, showing that Oz will not accept not being the winner here. He cannot accept that he lost to Sal, he won no matter what, because clearly he's offended by this. And Oz will go around telling everyone that he beat Sal. There's no way he doesn't. He beat the Maronis were taken out by a Cobblepot, and it's going to be interesting to see how he uses that to rise to more power, saying he took out one of the leading heads in Gotham City, and he even takes Sal's ring, which is kind of a reverse from what happened at the start of the season, where he gave Sal back that ring. So really interesting to see how they tied all that up, and then having Oz just rile up the crew, telling them that they did a great job protecting their home and that Oz is proud of them. And it's like showing how he, again, uses his words to motivate people, get them onto his side, and convince them to do what he wants them to do. Now, when we pick up back with Sophia, she's actually going to go see her cousin Gia, who they put in an orphanage because she's been talking and they want to talk to the police, which I totally thought something bad was going to happen in this episode, and it kind of did with Sophia going to see her. As the place to go into, the Brookside Children's Home looks like Arkham Asylum, or it looks like an asylum of some sorts. It's not really exactly like Arkham, but it looks like they're in a prison, especially when they go into Gia's room, and it literally looks like a prison cell. I'm like, yep, this sounds like Gotham. They're putting their kids with no homes in a terrible, terrible building. But it turns out Gia actually saw the gas mask that Sophia had and even asks if she killed her mom and dad. And you can see the kind of distraught on Sophia's face when she sees this, trying to convince her it wasn't her. Finding out that Gia is actually cutting herself because of what happened. And you can really see what the consequences of Sophia's actions are. And I think in this moment, she sees it as well. Because Sophia tells Gia about how the family was bad. They were bad people, and she's glad they're gone. And Gia should not hurt herself because of it. Which it shows you that Sophia, she's not thinking how this kid was. She never saw the bad part of her family. She just had her mom, her dad, and nothing was ever wrong with them. But Sophia saw all the terribleness. She got thrown in Arkham. They all pushed her away. They all hit her. So she knows exactly how bad they are. But as a young girl, of course she's not going to know how her parents were. So Sophia's making this choice for her. And you can see after Sophia leaves, she has a slight panic attack, feels her scars. And I was thinking in this moment, that's because she feels the pain of what she did to Gia. Understanding that Gia is innocent in all this, she's just a kid, she had no part in any of the criminal stuff that her family did. And seeing her hurt reminds herself of the pain she went through when she was thrown in Arkham and her family betrayed her. So at least that's how I saw it until we went down with Julian afterwards. Like how Sophia was supposed to take over the family business until she got thrown away in Arkham Asylum, and how nothing's changed. She got out and she went right into that position her father wanted for her originally, doing what her father wanted, which is now her time to break free of that, be her own person, don't follow in the steps of the person she hates the most. Even Julian saying that her father's hands aren't around her neck, which kind of implies that every time she felt like she was choking, it's because her father was choking her, which is definitely kind of a reference to the Hangman, how she's always clawing at her neck because of the Hangman marks, picturing her mother hanging, kind of going all into that trauma she's gone through as her child in growing up. But it also shows how her psyche is breaking, how now all she wants is to be free and for Oz to feel the pain, which sets up everything that happened in the end of the episode, where Oz is waiting in an ambush for Sophia, and Sophia runs a car into there with a bomb in it. Honestly, I fully expected it to be Oz's mom dead, and I was like, hey, this doesn't feel like the big moment that we were supposed to get. It feels like she should be getting killed right in front of Oz for him to really feel that pain. But instead, oh, she just blows up his base, destroys an entire intersection in Gotham City, and somehow Oz lives by the irony of falling down the same hole that he left his brothers in to die. And that was crazy, and my first thought was like, hey, someone's gonna be calling the Batman now. There's a giant hole in an intersection that went off by a bomb. This feels like the perfect moment for the Batman to show up. I'm honestly surprised we haven't got any reference to him. He doesn't have to be in the series. I don't really want him to be in the series. I just want a single reference to the Batman saying he's around, because we know he is. Oz has literally met the man. And after everything that's been going down, especially with this explosion, it feels like he should show up. I mean, other than the explosion, if it wasn't there, yeah, I'd understand if he never appeared. But with that explosion, I feel like that calls the bat, no problem right there. But then we go back into the final flashback where we see Oz and his mom going out dancing, the same place, Monroe's, where Sophia is taking his mom, which is definitely going to be the staging grounds for them to get killed. Like, that's just exactly how it feels like they're setting this all up. And in this moment, his mom is setting him up to be the man he wants to be. Big power in Gotham to get her everything she's always wanted, because she cannot survive without that. So all this time, Oz has been rising to power, and how we've seen him caring about his mom and trying to get her where she wants to go. It's all because his mom instilled this to him. He's a mama's boy. All he wants is to impress his mom. He has a weird relationship with her, so all he wants to do is make her happy no matter what. And that's exactly what he's been doing, which is also why he can never bring it into himself to take her out, like how she asked last episode. So it's kind of crazy to see how this kid was so obsessed with his mother. He definitely has mommy issues, and he worked his way to the top, getting all this power just to impress her and get her all the stuff she rightfully deserved, because she thinks she deserves it. So you can tell there's something wrong with her as well, where she's definitely like, I can't think of the term. Is it egotistical? No. Selfish? Maybe. But something like that where you have her wanting all this. She just thinks she deserves all of it, especially with the pain she's went through. And in reality, Oz is the one that caused it, and Oz is also going to be the same person to get what she wants. So kind of crazy to see how they set that up, and to see how big of an influence his mom was on him when he was growing up. And somehow this man survived that explosion, gets captured, and has been called the Penguin. So I definitely feel by like the end of the season, he'll be rightfully taking on that name of the Penguin, taking over the Gotham Crime Syndicate, especially after he takes out Sophia. He's already taken out Sal, and he's just got to get the other gangs to work with him. So it's kind of crazy to see what they're going to be setting up for the final episode. Like, there's just a lot to go down in it, and probably just a lot of people dying, a lot of explosions, a lot of gunfire, and probably one insane final to wrap up this series and to see where it goes next. What do you think of that episode? Were there any details I might have missed that we should go over in the comments down below? Okay, now it's time for the announcement, and the big announcement, well, kind of big announcement, is that I'm actually going to Japan this Thursday. So I won't be home in this backdrop to make a video for the Penguin final. So I'm going to see what I can do while I'm in Japan. It might not be possible to make a full-on YouTube video. However, I'm going to try to make shorts at least, so then we have some content. We can still talk about the episode in short form. And then later down the road, when I do get back on November 30th, I'm going to be trying to get the Penguin final breakdown out as soon as I can, so that it's out there. And if you guys are still interested, you can come check it out. And I hope you guys do, because I still want to talk about the show, and in long form, I can explain my thoughts a lot more. So we'll see what happens. If I somehow manage to get a video out while I'm in Japan, yay. If I don't, it'll definitely be coming out the week of December 1st, so make sure you stay tuned for that. Thank you guys for watching this video. If you liked it, hit the subscribe button, hit the like button. It helps out the channel a lot, and you get to stay up to date with all my videos. So, thanks for watching, and I'll talk to you when I get back.